Oh, hello, hello. And here I am back live on another Wednesday, and a beautiful Wednesday out there. I can't believe it, as we're racing towards the official start of summer sometime next week, soon. So that is fabulous. As always, just double checking. Volume, yes, that is excellent. Hello, everyone. It is great to see you all again on this fabulous, beautiful day. My name is Michael Smith, the National Education Manager of Janome Canada, and yes, I'm back here from my palatial estate in Collingwood, about 2 hours north of Toronto. I'm live in the Janome Canada Facebook page, Janome America's Janome Sewing Machine Facebook page, Janome Canada YouTube, and Janome America YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channels because Facebook is deleting these lives after 30 days. So you can go to our respective YouTube channels at any time to see these presentations, we hope for many years to come. So lovely. Oh, and Catherine's here from Louisiana. It must be nice and hot there too, which is lovely. And Jill is from North Carolina. I hope the weather is good for everybody. It's finally warming up here in Ontario. And again, summer's right around the corner. So yes, I say bring on the heat. Though, as I always say, no matter what the weather is, just stay inside and sew. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, a number of our sewing machines, as we go up the line, they get more sophisticated, more expensive. And people wonder, well, why are the machines, higher in price? Well, I love a machine, me personally, that does some thinking for us. As we get up that line, those machines get a lot more sophisticated, and we can use some of the computer technology to our advantage, and it makes things faster, easier, less guesswork, less mistakes to make. I'm all for it. Our lives are so busy, so much on our mind, so the machine does some thinking for us. So we're going to talk about the Sewing Applications menu. And the wonderful thing about Sewing Applications menu is it comes with a number of Janome machines. So here is my fabulous Skyline S7 AE Anniversary Edition, and it is the first machine in the Skyline series that has the Sewing Applications menu. We do have a S3, S5, S6, S7, and S9. The S7 has the sewing applications, as does S9. And then, of course, we've got, the 9410, 9400, 9450, 9480, Continental M6, M7, M8, CM17, the, 80... Ooh, no, the MemoryCraft 12,000, 15,000 had Sewing Applications menu. So lots of machines. So what Sewing Applications is this little t-shirt icon is the Sewing Applications menu. So if in doubt, you wonder, does my machine have this? Well, it is in your instruction manual, but all you have to do is turn on your machine. And again, it's the more advanced machines, higher end machines, that little t-shirt icon. If you have that, you have Sewing Applications. Now, what it is again, the machine doing some thinking for us. So if you say, oh, well, I've got all of these stitches here built into my machine, pages and pages and pages of these stitches, that it can be kind of daunting. When do I use them and why? Sewing Applications basically says, what do you want to do? So when we go into Sewing Applications, maybe I want to do some regular seaming. I want to seam 2 pieces of fabric together. Boom, we click on seaming. Are we going to seam woven fabric or knit fabrics, for example? So I'm going to sew on woven fabric. Well, here is medium weight fabric and some preset selections. What Sewing Applications does is it, again, does a lot of the thinking for us. So already I know that my machine is set up for a 4.5. That's middle needle position, since I'm on a 9mm machine. And my stitch length is 2.4. Now I can always go in and refine this. Maybe I want a longer stitch length, or maybe I want to move my needle to whatever position I want. So we can always go in to refine it, but these preset options really do help us. Now, again, you see the default is for a medium weight fabric was at 2.4. Well, what if I have a lightweight fabric? Oh, look, the machine is automatically suggested. Maybe for that lighter weight fabric, we have a stitch length that is a little tighter. On those light, delicate fabrics, we do need a tighter stitch, so it's not going to come apart. So the machine has already done that preset for us. All we have to do is sew. It makes it so easy. Maybe I have a heavyweight fabric. In this case, I have some vinyl, just some little scraps of vinyl here. So my heavier fabric, maybe we're sewing wool, for example, heavier fabric, we need a longer stitch length. The machine is automatically set up at 2.6, that longer stitch length to go through those thicker layers. So great, my machine's already set up for me. I don't have to do any guesswork. Now, again, this is just as some suggestions, so we can always go back in. And I'm just going to sew, again, as a 5/8 of an inch for most of our commercial patterns. So I do my sewing here, and then I can always go, oh, okay, is that stitch length a good stitch length? Oops, open this up. Again, is that all beautiful? Yes, that looks good to me. There is my seam line there. Now, in fact, I could go, I feel like I could go a little longer. The general rule of thumb is the thicker your layers, the longer your stitch needs to be. So instead of this 2.6, maybe I would like that 3.0 instead. So we can still do some customizing even with our sewing applications. But the great thing is the sewing applications, again, it really takes the guesswork out of adjusting your machine. There you see my stitch length at 3.0. So you do your little testing, you find out whatever works for you. So you can still customize, but it's great that Sewing Applications already has set up for you. Now this Lock-O-Matic stitch is very good. Again, the average at 2.4 stitch length, but Lock-O-Matic, as you could imagine, locks off our stitches automatically. So when I start sewing here, I don't have to go back to hit my reverse button. It's automatically, did you see? It automatically did it for me. And when I get towards the end of the seam, then I do need to come and hit the reverse button, but I just need to hit it once, and then boom, it just did it all on its own. Stop, trim our threads. So simple. It did that back stitching. Look at that gorgeous back stitching at the top and at the bottom. It stitches directly over that stitch. It doesn't meander. It doesn't go off. Look at that beautiful stitching. Stitching on the back side. It's beautiful. So yes, that Lock-O-Matic stitch, again, anything to save us a little bit of time is wonderful. So more options. So that's just in regular seaming. But how about, oh, I've got a knit fabric, a stretch fabric. Well, look, we've got some preset options as well. So we don't have to worry about, oh, what did my instruction manual say is the stitch I should use for knits? Well, here I just go into Sewing Applications. Again, my seaming. I've got a knit fabric. Again, is it a medium weight, a lightweight, a heavy weight? And automatically that stitch length again is 2.8, longer than the regular 2.4. Now this little lightning zigzag, as it's called, is a great stitch to use for knits. That it looks, again, it's this little zigzag, but instead of the zigzag going horizontally like most zigzags do, this one goes vertically. It goes down and then back vertically instead of horizontally. So this is why this is a great stitch for knit fabrics, anything that you need some stretch. It does it automatically. And yet, again, it looks like it's that little lightning zigzag. And yet when I open my fabric up here, You would never guess that's a zigzag. It looks like a regular, even when I pull really tight, you see I've got the stretch, built-in stretch. But see, when I pull my stitches apart, it looks like a regular straight stitch. So we can still press our seam allowances open if we wish. Afterward, they'll still lay nice and beautiful, even with that lightning zigzag. So again, the machine does the thinking for us. What are we going to do? We're going to sew knit fabrics. Boom. Light, medium, or heavy. It's all preset for us. So simple. Let's go back again. If we're going to sew on a curve, like a collar, for example, this little Peter Pan collar, do you see the machine has already suggested a smaller stitch length at 1.5. We need a smaller stitch length to go around that curve. That only makes sense. And again, we've got the lock-o-matic or the locking stitch here, where we select this stitch and it's going to lock a couple of stitches, stitch our seam, then we press the lock stitch again, or the reverse stitch, and then it's going to stop automatically, lock into place, and finish our seam. So these presets, again, just save us a lot of time. Top stitching is the same. We're going to go through now all those layers. So we've done our seaming, we've done our collar construction, but now we want to do the top stitching. So the machine suggests, oh, that 3.0 stitch length is my personal favorite for top stitching. Again, we're going through those thicker layers of that collar. It's all sewn together now. So the top stitching, we need a longer stitch at 3.0. But again, I can always go in. If this is a really heavy wool melt-in, for example, I might even lengthen that to a 3.4, 3.5. I might even go all the way up to 4.0 because of the thickness. So the presets are there to save a lot of time, but we can still go in to refine it however we need. It really is a big time saver. When I go through, I've got 2 pages. That's just seaming alone. I've got 2 pages of sewing applications. Over edge is wonderful on woven fabric and knit fabrics, or this heavier option as well. When we are sewing, again, if we have a serger to finish off the raw edges of our fabric, that's wonderful. Janome has so many sergers in the line. That's great. But there are times when I don't want to drag out my serger and thread it up with 4 cones of thread. I just have a small little repair. In fact, on our Janome Life blog, I used the M7, or no, the Skyline S7, the original Skyline S7, to do this little repair on the polo shirt I was wearing. I selected this woven over edge. It tells us change the foot to the M foot, which is the overcast over edge foot. Do you see these little stitch fingers? They're very much like the stitch fingers of our serger. They're going to support that zigzag stitch to finish off the raw edge of the foot. There's this little guide there that we line up our fabric. So it makes it very convenient, very quick. Switch out that foot. And again, very quick to line up my fabric. Now we suggest then the 2.5 stitch length. Now some of these stitches, again, I can't make any longer. The machine is chirping at me saying, no, you can't do that. Again, I can't make a mistake. The machine won't let me. Wonderful. I can shorten my stitch length if I want. In this case, I'm just going to leave it long. But it's great. Again, the machine does that thinking for us, so we don't have to worry about, oh boy, I don't want to break a needle. Trust me, in my early days of sewing, I broke lots of needles because I didn't necessarily pay attention all the time that I should. So now the machine says, wait a minute, you're thinking too fast, you're too excited. I'm not going to let you make that mistake. So I can't break a needle here. It works so beautifully. So here I'm doing my over edge of this raw edge of fabric. And I don't even have to seam my fabric. I'm actually seaming it and finishing it all at the same time with this really narrow seam. Now, if I wanted to, of course, I could sew my regular 5/8 of an inch, whatever my seam allowance is, and then I could finish these seam allowances off separately. Or in this case, I decided to seam these two pieces of fabric together using that over edge stitch. You see it does that straight line there, which seams them together, and then that zigzag. And look at how beautiful. Like, that is just what a serger does. It doesn't trim off the fabric the way the serger does, but look at that. It's a beautiful, strong seam, narrow little seam allowance, and look how beautiful that is. Very professional results. I use this a lot when I'm doing, again, smaller projects. This tote bag, for example, this reusable shopping bag, do you see? I did my regular, in this case, it was a 5/8 of an inch, and then I did my over edge seam. Look how beautiful that is. I could have done this on my serger, but it was just as fast to do this. I'm sitting at my sewing machine. I didn't want to stop and drag out my other machine, so boom, done. So beautiful. And again, we've got options. If you have a really lightweight fabric, or a really heavy fabric that ravels a lot, this is where, do you see, we've got that straight stitch and these extra zigzag stitches here to prevent that extra raveling. It works out so good. And again, we can choose to do our seam and then finish them off separately, or we can, I'm just going to do them at the same time. So yes, I could do this on a single layer of fabric to finish my seam allowances separately and then press them open. In this case, I'm seaming these together. So this would be great on a heavyweight fabric that really ravels a lot. Or again, I like this on lighter weight fabrics, actually, like a chiffon, let's say, that really ravels. But having that extra zigzag stitch, do you see there? There's like the big zigzag, and then there's the little zigzag right along the edge. There's a big zigzag and then the little zigzag in between. So that helps prevent raveling. Look how gorgeous that is. So again, professional results every time. So there, that's just one layer. I could sew, again, my other layer together, and then I could press my seam allowances open if I wish. Again, so beautiful. So many things that we could do to finish off the edge of our garments. Now, just as a quick aside, if ever you're doing this over edge stitching, and in this case, it's gorgeous, but on sometimes those lightweight fabrics, those little chiffons and all that really delicate organdy fabrics, use some water-soluble stabilizer, scraps left over from embroidery projects, and you use your water-soluble stabilizer on top, again, of your lighter weight fabrics. If you've got a knit fabric and you're doing an over-edge finish on knits and you've got that slinky fabric, now knits aren't going to ravel the way wovens do, but it's definitely more professional and helps strengthen your seams to finish them off. So you can use this water-soluble stabilizer on top of your slinky knit fabrics. And again, any fabric where you find it doesn't look as nice or you're getting skip stitches, that water-soluble stabilizer definitely helps. And then you take your 4-inch mini duckling scissors. I cannot sew without these. Look at that. Because of that duckbill on the bottom side, do you see I'm not trimming my white fabric underneath? I'm just trimming my excess stabilizer away, and then when I immerse this, the rest of the stabilizer in the seam line will disappear. It works out so well. Yes, I love my my S7 AE right now. It's all I need and want. Oh, that's wonderful. I agree. I am absolutely loving the well, I love all Janome machines, but the Skyline S7, I really fallen in love with it. And again, it does so much. And again, with that sewing applications, we've got so much we can do. Oh, how about we're doing hemming and this blind hem? Perfect. My machine is all set up for me. I don't need that M foot anymore. I need this G foot for the blind hem with that wonderful little rudder down the middle of the foot. These engineering of these Janome feet are just astonishing to me. They do, again, all the work for us. So there, again, my machine is already set up for me. Boom, I'm not going to do anything. I could go into refined stitch length if I need, but I'm going to do my little test first and see how it goes. Now, when I do my blind hem, again, I've got my right side down to the bed of the machine, folded up the hem based on my pattern or whatever I choose to, and then I fold it back. So we're going to butt the fold of our blind hem up against that center rudder of this G foot. And we're going to stitch a straight line down on this side of the fabric on the right side, and then it's going to zigzag over and bite that fold. The more of a bite into the fabric, the more it's going to show on the right side. We're going to see a little bit of it. That's totally normal. That's what a blind hem is. We do see a little bit of it. Now, you're probably not going to use this neon Madeira thread that I have. Look at these gorgeous neon Madeira threads. So double check with your Janome dealer what threads they have. I love this, especially when I'm demoing. Look, you really see that. You purchased the S7AE because of my videos. Thank you so much. That is absolutely wonderful feedback to hear. I love to share the Janome love, and yes, that's exactly why we do all of these lives, so everybody can learn more about their machine, make some decisions, because there's so many machines out there. So do you see there's a straight stitch and then there's a bite into that fold. Now I could, firstly, this raw edge of the fabric here to the right, I could run that through. That over edge stitch would be perfect to use here, and then my blind hem, and yes, you see little bits of this neon fabric here in my black fabric. This is perfectly acceptable. This is what a blind hem is, almost like a hand-picked hem. Now, if I did this in black thread, you would never see it. It works out beautiful. So a lot of men's trousers in particular, I find, are not being hemmed these days. So we always need to do a little bit of hemming. So I could use that over edge stitch first for the raw edge, and then I could do this blind hem. It works out so well. So perfect. Now, similarly, when we're in this blind hem category, we have the shell tuck. This is a very old stitch. And in fact, this blind hem and the shell tuck, they're built into a number of Janome machines. It makes it so easy with the sewing applications. I can select, do I want small, medium? I'll do large. Already the machine is set up for me. It tells me what presser foot to use. In this case, I could use the F foot or the F2 foot, which are the satin stitch foot. The F foot has the little bar in between, and the open toe F2 has no bar in between. I'll just use the regular F foot. There we go. And this shell tuck is a wonderful stitch to use for lingerie, or how about, I love showing people this sample. This is a quilt, and you see in the binding here, there is this little shell tuck trim. It's a little separate piece of fabric, this little trim, but it is the shell tuck. Now, what a wonderful thing in this quilt binding. What a wonderful way to, again, do something different for your binding. And it's so simple to do. I take my strip of fabric. In this case, I cut it 1.5 inches, and it could be as wide as you want. It doesn't matter. And all I'm going to do is line up the fold of my fabric so the needle actually goes right off to the right. So it's like a little zigzag stitch, or in this case, a big zigzag stitch. And the needle is going off the fabric to the right. And it's producing this shell tuck. It looks like a shell like that you find in the seashore. It's beautiful. Look at how delicate that is. This is a great application, you will see our fabulous Celine, educator from Montreal, has written some Janome life blogs. She uses this in lingerie. Imagine hemming a slip like this. So beautiful. A camisole, you're hemming like this. Isn't that gorgeous? Or in this case, again, here is our quilt. Here is our little shell tuck accent. This is our binding, as always. The binding's going to sew to the back side like that. And isn't that an adorable trim for your binding? So this shell tuck, so versatile, so simple to do. All I'm just touching my sewing applications. I didn't adjust my machine anyway. I just did sewing applications. So simple. And again, you'll see, as usual, time is racing by. Can you show it again? We can see the shell tuck. Yes, you can go back to review this presentation. If I've done something so quickly, you can go back to review later in YouTube. Because I wanted to go through some more sewing applications mode. Again, rolled hem, zipper, gathering. There's so many choices we can do. Scroll to our next page. Basting. Oh, sewing on a button. So simple to do. It tells me, lower the feed dog. Now here on the Skyline S7 AE, there's a little lever on the side of my machine. I just click that to lower the feed dogs. It's telling me to switch to the button sewing foot, which is the T foot. So I can click that on very quickly. And the cool thing about this button, sewing a button on by machine, and it even gives us some suggestions of using the button shank plate here, for example. The button shank plate that comes with a number of our machines, this funny looking gadget. Some people call it a hump jumper, but Janome calls it a button shank plate for this reason. Here is my button, and I've actually taped it over my button shank plate. And you see the button shank plate has two grooves. This is one groove. This is another groove under here. There's a groove under there. So I'm going to do my zigzag stitching back and forth, but the button shank plate is building up this carrier of thread. So then my other layer of fabric can button over it without any strain. So I can lay this in. It makes it so simple. And I don't have to worry about, now I always love to rotate the balance wheel by hand first, just to make sure, yes, my needle is going to clear the holes in the button. And by dropping my feed dogs, my machine isn't going to feed forward, so I can safely sew on this button. It's sewn all those stitches. It's doing a locking stitch. Done. All I do, clip my threads, and then I would remove my button shank plate, remove my cellophane tape here. I can thread up a hand sewing needle if I would like. A self-threading needle is I like using. You just clip the thread in, and I take this thread and then I wrap it around here in the shank to make it extra strong. So isn't that beautiful? Please move your camera. I'm not sure where I need to move my camera. My camera is here. So yes, there is your button sewn on by machine. It is so simple. All of these buttons that I sewed, again, so quick, so easy to do, so professionally, done on the machine. Look at that. How beautiful. You can sew these buttons by machine faster than you can sew by hand, that's for sure. And they're going to be super strong because of that. So again, your button shank plate can make all the difference when you're sewing a button on by machine. And now also with that garment sewing tips, and I'll get into quilting in just a second, this tacking stitch, again, it's telling me raise the feed dogs. Do you see this cute little tacking stitch here is great when we do, oh, let me release this foot. There we go. This tacking stitch is great to do when we're sewing pockets. For example, an area of stress. Do you see right here that area of stress of this pocket, this beautiful little, it's a tight zigzag stitch, is done very easily and quickly. The only thing we need to remember is this tacking stitch is going to go backwards. So you don't start at the top of your pocket, you start down your pocket. I'm going to start where I did my little stitching. There we go. Drop that. And again, I just sew this little tack stitch. And again, it sews backwards, almost like a buttonhole, very much so, where it goes backwards. And it's a little zigzag stitch, but it's just there to help. Let me trim this off. There we go. Do you see that beautiful finish? It's not bulky. You barely see it, but how beautiful is that? And again, on the back side, trim my threads there. Look how beautiful that looks for your tacking stitch. Isn't that beautiful? So yes, now I mentioned, oh, that's garments. Well, oh yes, we got applique, then quilting. We want to do some patchwork to do our piecing, our 1/4 inch piecing. It's recommending we use the O-foot. This one has a guide, and the machine is automatically set at that 1/4 inch stitch. It moved it to 8.3. My needle is moved over to 8.3, and then we have a 1.0 stitch length, a tighter stitch length. So this is wonderful to do for piecing. So we simply just take our fabric, butt it up, and it does that smaller stitch length because we generally don't backstitch a lot when we are piecing. We'll just butt this piece on after another, and we generally don't backstitch. So that's why the seam allowance is shorter. Now, do you see here where it says same size or different size? So if we're doing the same kind of piecing over and over and over and over again, we hit OK, and it's going to memorize that same stitch length for us over and over and over again. So we don't have to worry about making it exactly the same. It's going to stop just where we need it to do. Boom, it's perfect. Now, in this case, I didn't set it correctly, but it's like, again, it memorizes that piecing for us. So it makes it super, super simple. And if we don't want that, we just hit different size and away it goes. So lastly, I wanted to get into, our other quilting options. Do we want to do straight stitching again through all layers? And the machine is automatically set to 3.0. That longer stitch going through all of our layers. That's an option. Oh, my sister Deb is here. That's okay that you're late. Again, yes, you can watch this as I'm going fast. You can watch this on our respective YouTube channels afterward. Janome Canada and Janome America YouTube. But if we want to do free motion quilting, well, boom, we just select this option and it will tell us lower the feed dogs, and it's going to give us some various options to choose. In this case, we've got that hand look quilt stitch. You can go back to various Janome Life blogs and previous presentations on Janome Sewing Machines, Janome America's YouTube and Janome Canada's YouTube. I've done this hand look quilt stitch. And again, many blogs in Janome Life where you can't see it, but there is actually an invisible stitch right here in between all those stitches. It looks like I did that by hand, this cute little pincushion. We have that hand look quilt stitch built into the sewing applications. We don't have to worry about what was the machine set at, what was the tension. All of that is done for us. It makes it so fast, so easy. The last thing I wanted to demo very quickly is this ruler work options. Lower the feed dogs. Again, the machine is telling us what to do. It's wonderful. Now, the ruler work option here on the Skyline S7 there isn't a ruler foot included with the Skyline S7, but there is this fabulous, do you see it here? Ooh, some options with Skyline S7. Optional Skyline S7 AE Advanced Accessory Kit. And it comes with the HP needle plate, HP foot, a 1/4 inch foot with no guide, an open toe hopping foot, the PDH foot, the variable zigzag foot, and yes, this QR ruler foot. So there is a ruler foot for almost every Janome machine out there. So double check with your dealer which one is correct for your machine. This QR foot, again, it's an optional presser foot for the Skyline S7 AE. And we just screw that in there. And again, the machine is already set up. Are we using medium weight batting, lighter weight batting? It will adjust the height of the presser foot. In this case, this lightweight batting, the presser foot is set up at 1.5. I can always lower it if I've got maybe just a layer of flannel, or if I'm using back to medium, it's set at 2.5 millimeters from the fabric. If I've got really lofty batting, 2 layers of batting, I can always set it up higher. So again, these defaults are here just to save time, but we can always go in and refine them if we need to. So we can practice, again, very quickly, our ruler quilting. And you can go back to my various lives, go back to our Janome Life blog, and here I'm using the ruler foot with one of the rulers from our 6-piece ruler kit, Janome 6-piece ruler kit. And again, it does things like the 1-stitch stop where I can pull up my bobbin thread. In this case, to save time, I won't bother. But it makes it very simple and easy. Again, the machine is already set up for us, so we don't have to worry. The only thing we have to do is just make the selection and drop the feed dogs, really. Change the presser foot to the ruler foot, and then there, boom, my little ruler shape. And again, the shape that is from the Janome 6-piece ruler kit. And then we can do all these fabulous, again, we've done so many blogs, so many videos. You see, I'm still working on this Christmas pillow that I was doing. All this ruler quilting, so fun to do. And with sewing applications, it just makes it even faster and easier just by selecting it. Now I will very quickly, I'm way over my time, but apparently my camera wasn't in view of when I go into shell tuck. So I go into shell tuck and I need to raise my foot. I just want to make sure that you all saw how to do the shell tuck, or again, you can certainly go to Janome Life blog. We've got many different shell tuck presentations there. And Celine has done many in the Janome Canada Facebook, Janome Sewing Machines Facebook, in English and in French. Now, Celine is only doing French for our Janome Canada audience. But if you turn on closed captioning, you can certainly understand. But she's done this presentation in English as well. So for shell tuck, all I do, take your strip however wide you want it. In this case, I made it 1.5 inches. And all I do is fold it over so the raw edges are together, and the fold is right along. Oh, in this case, I've got my open toe foot. I like using my closed toe satin stitch foot, and I line up the edge of that folded edge of the fabric. Do you see where that notch is in the foot? Make sure that your needle will go right off the edge of the fabric, and that's what pulls that fabric over to create this shell tuck. So it works super simple. So yeah, my camera looks like it is good. Yes, I'm sorry if my camera was out of view. There's always so much to look at when doing these lives. So I'm going to select my large shell tuck, and you see, so I selected large shell tuck, and then my needle has moved to the right. and it's going to go off. I'm rotating my needle with the balance wheel. The needle is off the fabric, and it basically, the fold of the fabric lines up with that groove, that little notch in the foot. And then we just simply let it do its thing in guiding the fabric so that folded edge stays to where that groove is. So doesn't that work beautiful? Look at that, how beautiful and delicate it is. So there is so many things that we can do, all with, again, sewing applications, that little t-shirt button. And of course, higher end machines like the 15,000 had it, and the Skyline S7, and Continental M8, CM17, and I want to say even 9480, I believe, has the advanced sewing applications menu with the specialty presser feet. So there's even more that you can do with those machines. So there's no end to the creativity. So thank you so much, everyone, for your patience. I'm way over my time, but again, there's always so much. I always want to do more. I'll just have to come back and do more presentations. So yes, thank you everyone so much for joining me. I will see you all next week. As a sneak peek, I'm going to be live at our Quilt Canada show here in Mississauga, Ontario, just up the street from the Pearson International Airport. So you could all come to Toronto and attend Quilt Canada. It'll be such a fun show, and I will be live next Wednesday from our booth as we set up. I'll show you all the fabulous machines we have. So thank you everyone so much for joining me. It's been wonderful. Have a wonderful day. Bye.